It's me, dumb. Okay, this is uncut. You can't save everyone. I am not Jesus. I am not God. I'm none of those people. None of those. I am none of them. And you're not none of them either. If you're there's a personality type, I don't know what they are, or people who are really like, what are they called? They're like compassionate, or like super, like, they're just super helpful. Sympathetic, something like that. Not pathetic, but they have a lot of sympathy for people. And if you're one of those people, which I'm not really one of those people, but I care about who I care about, and if I know some things that'll help them, I'm gonna try to help them. But as I've learned, as I've grown up from this past year, as I've gotten older and matured, I realized you cannot save everyone. And some people just don't want to be saved. So what I've learned is, if people ask for help, I'll help them. If they don't ask for help, I'm not going to say anything, and I'm going to keep quietly building what I'm building. I'm going to give out the information I think is important and what people should know. But if people aren't interested in what you're building or whatever you're talking about, they're really not going to care. Just as much as I try to inform people around me, or just people in general, about what they should be doing, their mindset is fixed. You know, we could tie this one with another topic I've thought about, is I think everybody thinks like me until I go outside. And this is fascinating and everything, because I think everybody's financial literate. I think everybody knows how to save. I think people know what's going through my head, but in reality, they don't. I low-key messed up. And this is probably messed up from a conditioning phase in psychology. Like, you're probably like, what is this guy talking about? Okay, it's just, there are like stages of conditioning, like pre-operational. It's hard to understand. It's just something I learned. But that goes with this one psychology thing where I think my brain messed up, where I think people know what I'm thinking, and like, no, they don't. So that goes with, and the fact that I think people just know these things, but they really don't. In reality, I know a lot more than what I think I do, and they don't really know anything. So when I try to change people's mindsets, or try to change how they think, or give them a different opinion or different viewpoint, they're really not gonna use my advice or anything. So what I've come to understand is that it's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time, and I'm not gonna tell anyone anything, and they're gonna miss out on a whole bunch of stuff. And it's just their loss. It's just their loss, and it's just, there's nothing I can do. I'm not gonna pour my energy into anyone else if they're not open to it. You gotta understand, if people aren't open to changing, if people aren't open to hearing what you have to say, they're already fixed on whatever they want. You know, they're already fixed on whatever they want to believe. You know what I mean? And it's just like, there's no point in trying to change or tell them anything, because the only time when people want to learn or change is whenever they go through some pain, they feel a loss, or something happens to them. That's the only time a human nature wants to do something about it. And it's sad we're like this way, but it sucks. And that's why I think pain is so amazing, because it makes people wake the F up, bro. You know, people who try to lose weight and everything aren't gonna lose weight until they realize they only have like 6 months left to live, and then they get a wake-up call. People with, you know, things of all this nature, then you start taking life seriously. And it's just like, why does it need to get to that point? You know, that's how it was in the relationship. You know, I thought it was never gonna be over. I thought I was always good. You know what I'm saying? I thought, you know, I was used to these hot and cold cycles. I was used to these, oh, she would never leave. Oh, nothing would ever go wrong. Oh, you know, we've been through worse. But no, people have their breaking point. And that's why it hurt me a lot, because I was like, damn, she got some breaking point too. And it's just like, sheesh, that sucks. And it's just like, what can you do? And it's just like, dang it, bro. You gotta do it. You gotta work. You gotta do the work before it gets to that point. You gotta be open to some advice and to some perspective, because whenever you lose something, whenever something actually does happen to you, whenever your car does break down because you didn't change the oil when it said 0% oil life, and you're just like, no, it's fine. No, no, dang, the camera shook a lot. No, you gotta do it before anything happens. This is not because the world is against you. This is not because the man is against you. This is not, no. It's just Murphy's Law. Whenever something bad whenever something bad is about to happen, or things bad are about to happen, it's probably gonna happen. You know what I mean? I had a nail in my right tire, okay, when I was changing my oil. So I was like, wow. But those two things do not correlate with each other at all. So it's just like, it's just bad luck and bad timing, and that's just what happens. And also, this freaking left turn signal says check rear turn signal. No, they don't. None of those components even correlate to anything. It's just bad luck, bad timing. It's just like, how is a light gonna turning signal light deal with oil? Like, that doesn't make no sense. And I'm just like, oh wow, of course whenever I start to actually do something and fix it, no, that's just Murphy's Law, string theory maybe, but that's what I've come to understand. And now it's just like, I'm not gonna try to save everyone, you know what I mean, because it's just a waste of time, and people aren't gonna be listening to anything unless they do see what you're doing. It's better just be quiet and show and just move with silence and move with intention in your actions. Let your actions speak harder than words. This was hard for me because I never learned that. I never did that. No, I always like to speak so much, but now I'm just like, I'm so fascinated by my own life and my own fulfillment that I'm actually building and working towards something bigger than myself. So it's just like, why do I even want to spread that information out there? It doesn't matter. You realize the person you're with right now is yourself more than anything. Yourself, your relationship with yourself, that's what matters more than anything else. More than your spouse, really. More than your girlfriend. More than your relationship with God. Maybe I probably wouldn't even want to go there, because that's probably the most important. That's the foundation. But next should become yourself. Next, if you're spiritual, you know what I mean? That's what it is for me. But yourself. This isn't isolation. This isn't selfishness. This isn't anything else. But realize, we gonna be gone alone. You know what I mean? And that's sad to say, but it's so true. Your head, you fall asleep with your own thoughts. You fall asleep and you go to sleep and you see your own dreams. You don't see anyone else's dreams. You don't think of anybody else's thoughts. We're naturally just individual people because we're just humans and we're wrapped up in our own world. And I put a lot of my energy and self into other people, and I wasn't getting a lot of reciprocation. It's just like, no, this is the sad truth about the world. The world isn't fair. The world is not fair to anyone. This is just our reality. And we can say we wish the world was what it is. Okay, yeah, but you also got to realize, if you need assistance, if you need support and you don't reach out, it's your fault. And it can be so hard. And it's just like, for me, that's what I'm going through. It's just like the pain and everything. If I don't seek support, if I don't seek help, then it's just going to keep weighing on me. And I understand it can be hard, but it's just like, man, you just got to try. And just because one bad experience happens and you think all people are like that, don't generalize everyone. You know, there's so much people out here. I just started using this little app thing. I don't have social media, so I've been very socially isolated from literally the entire world. And social media can be good for that nature, like trying to connect with people, but it's really not, because you see a lot of BS and you see a lot of dumb things. It's just like, I'm not gonna look at that stuff. So I tried this one thing for my school, and there's so much people around the world. There's a guy I'm talking to from Dubai. You know, there's people around the entire world. People, and that's the sad thing, is just you can correlate and relate to people around the entire world, and you find similarities with them than people in your surrounding environment or ecosystem. And it's just like, man, if we were in those areas or something, and we would just be a lot more happier. I would probably be a lot more happier. And it's just like, that's why the life I'm trying to build is going to allow me to connect and see other parts of the world and just see those things. Have a much more broader aspect of life, because my mindset is just so fixed, so small scale in this town. And it's just like, man, it feels like you're trapped. And I know a lot of people can relate to what I'm saying, because they come from small towns, or they've been living in their one town their entire life, and they just don't know what it's like out there. But there's an entire world out there, and it's just crazy. And it's just like, man, I want to see that. I want to see that. And that's why I'm like super excited. And that's why I'm finna go to this overnight for a couple hours and get it in. Really not making anything from it. It's really just gas and just expense stuff. Anyways, that's what it is. You can't save everyone, so save yourself. Especially if you keep trying with other people. It's just stop trying. Just stop trying. Pull back, bro. Pull back. See what happens, and then maybe you get something done. Not as manipulation tactic, but as you caring about your own mental space and clarity and healing and everything. That's what it is. That's Uncut.